All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Broadband Hui. I am Shola Kahiapo-Trevino, and thank you for joining us today. Um, we are having some new changes, so we really mahalo everyone for their patience as we are going through this new season of the Broadband Hui. But I will pass it over to Chrissy and the rest of our Big Island team for some introductions.
Hey, aloha kako. Happy Wednesday. Um, for those that maybe I've not introduced myself to, I've been on the Broadband Hui call for a number of years, but I work over at the Waianae Coast Comprehensive Health Center. I'm the Director of Tech Equity, and I am just feel honored and very happy that I'm able to, along with Shola, keep our wonderful work that we've all been doing here going. And are creating a space that we as a community can come together, share resources, stay abreast of what our new administration is getting ready for us in our ready day two. And I'm going to pass it over to Marlo to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Marlo. I work with Shola and Riley at the County of Hawaii. I'm an AmeriCorps Vista, and yeah, I've been helping out for around 6 months. And an update from Riley is his computer is updating, so he'll be here soon.
Thank you, team. We have a pretty packed agenda this morning, so I'm just gonna kind of roll on into the next section. We are still gonna continue our Mana'o Kalas because I feel like it's a great way for us to ground ourselves before our meetings. So let me share you some thoughts from Alex, our IT guy in our office. So Alex Mana'o today is community is the foundation of human connection, a place where individuals' strengths unite to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much. Right. Okay, so so on our agenda today, I just kind of want to remind everyone that with our new season of the Broadband Hui, our focus more so now is community and recognizing, the efforts and work that others have been doing. So we are very grateful and thankful that the National Digital Inclusion Alliance, they shouted out Hawaii and the Broadband Hui for their collective efforts to bridge community and digital equity in Hawaii. And so I have a link to their report on the agenda. And so we mahalo everyone's efforts and all of the work that they've been doing over this past year. Thank you, everybody. And so from last week, just to kind of bring this back up to speed, we are doing some changes in the way that we're operating the Hui. And in the agenda, you can see that there are some different bulleted points. I'm going to share my screen just to kind of make it easier for everybody. So I like to see that we're going to be breaking up the Hui into three different sections. The first one is a community discussion part where we kind of share information and we would like to get some input from the people who are attending the Hui for the day. And then just information about educational opportunities and also discussions of grant opportunities that are available as well. So if people have any thoughts, concerns, or additional suggestions, we are very open to having your input to let us guide this season a lot easier. And with that and our discussion that we had last week, one of the biggest things that we had being asked for us was to create an online presence, a bigger one in itself. So thanks to Marlo, we put together this Broadband Hui Google site for everyone to access. And the intention behind this is to have a bigger online presence as well, but also the accessibility of having all of the information on a website for everyone to have. So if you go to Hawaii Broadband Hui what was it? It's like a Google Sites account. I have it linked in the agenda. You can just click on it. But you will find all of the meeting information. So you have the current agenda that will be happening for that meeting for the week, informations for the past archives and all of the recordings and agendas, and quick access to the recording that we have posted up on YouTube. We also have the calendar listed on here as well. So if you are unable to get it on top of your email or whatever, you can go to the website, click on it, and you're easy to access the Zoom link every other week because we are changing our frequency now to every other week. And then just a little tidbit of what we are as the Hui and just kind of the discussion that we had last week on what our visions are and what we would like to see come out of this forum. There is other information on joining the Hui if you would like to pass this information on to others, and also a little bit of the code of conduct that we had previously created. If you look at the top right-hand corner, there is some community resource for folks to access. Here's the Connect Kako and all the organizations and state organizations that are part of this effort. And then here is the information for community resources. One of the biggest things also asked is to have different subgroups. So this is a space for the creation of subgroups to be made, and also information for people to learn about the meetings and how to access those meetings. Also goals as well would be a really great thing to put together for the visionariness of the Broadband Hui, and how to access all of those. And drop down. Then, so if we look on the agenda, this is a lot of the information that we have on the agenda as well. So just all of the policy, all the mapping information that we have. What else do we have? Information on digital literacy. That. We have some information on workforce development. Also some maps that we were able to put in. And lastly, some information about the different infrastructure work that will be happening in Hawaii. But yeah, take a look at this website. Let me pop this inside the chat for people.
I
Shola,
shared it,
Okay.
Marlo,
Shola. Yeah, I
that's
already
a
got it.
Oh,
great job.
thank you.
I love the content. Quick question on the calendar, and this is for folks. Is that something that Broadband Hui members are able to add in their own events, or should they contact us to add on events that are coming up, whether it's digital literacy programs, or I think that was part of the intent too, was to kind of keep track. So if folks wanted to join, I think there's something coming up that a community event in Eva, I think, this week in the evening, to talk about the Haviki, I think, or Havi, anyway, a fiber project that's happening as an example.
Yes. Yeah, so the community should be able to easily add on any of their work that they have going on. So yeah, this would be a really great way to see if there are classes out there, or if we want to like meet up with each other at said community events. Please drop that in here, so we can come to support. It should also have the correct information for the Broadband Hui gathering, since we will be changing it to a bi-monthly frequency. So just if you forget, it's on the calendar, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But yeah, just take a look at this, really see if this is helpful for you guys. If you guys have any suggestions or information that you would like to see up on here, it's very easy for us to add on. You can contact our Hawaii Island broadband peeps over here, and we can definitely make some changes for folks who think that other information will be helpful. We are also hoping to, like, with each other week that we're having our meetings, whatever information that is on top of the agenda, we are hoping to house it on this website as well. So it will be very jam-packed. Um, but we'll work through it. We'll work through it. It'll be great. It'll be a great resource for everyone. But how was everyone's temperature checks on that? How are we feeling? Yeah.
Excellent. Dan, I
Okay.
know for, I don't know if this is on the agenda, but it popped in my head for the group, the subgroup that had been working on, or that is working on the digital literacy framework. That would be a subcommittee that could be added
Yes.
to the website. Yeah, because I
Yes.
know I was one of those that forgot to add it to my calendar and missed our last meeting because it was just in an email. So that would be super helpful.
Yes. Please send us all of the information for those types of meetings, and we will put it on top of our Broadband Hui website. But yeah, any sort of things like that, that would be really great and really helpful. And like just I guess to segue on towards the next part of the agenda, it was the topic of subgroups that we were talking about last week. And I just kind of want to see what people's thoughts and feelings are about, creating these subgroups in order for us to kind of clear up space on the Broadband Hui meetings. In the agenda, I've also put down some suggestions for subgroups. And we would really encourage the community to be running these subgroups if this is your area of expertise. We really mahalo your navigation for these subgroups. With ledge season starting up, if we are wanting to start back up the policy monitoring subgroup that we've had every year, there was discussion on workforce development and how that would be implemented in digital readiness, with the digital equity funds coming down. The data collection also, having like really grassroots type of data collection and information. And then, Riley sent me this, this one was from NDIA, but there is in New York, they have an New York Affordability Act. And I thought it was a really interesting thing. And if someone would like to tackle looking at that and seeing how they can contribute to kind of seeing how Hawaii can implement something like this. That would be a really cool one. I also have a link to their New York's, they have a What's New York's Affordable Broadband Act means and information on that act. But yeah, if we want to have like some discussion on subgroups, we would like to run it, different types of subgroups we're looking at. I would love to hear people's suggestions on that. Opening up to the crowd. Let me put some of our suggestions on here in the chat. And people can look at it. So we have policy monitoring, if that's something that is important to you. Workforce development and what that looks like in regards to digital equity, digital readiness and education with kupuna or with children, data collection, especially a grassroots approach on understanding internet access and or barriers that they are reaching, and tackling community accessibility and affordability. Affordability, not.
Seeing Dan Smith's hand raised. Dan, I see you. He's not, his hand really isn't raised, but I'm just calling him out. I was gonna, hey Dan, I was gonna,
Yes,
hi,
I'm just
aloha. Sorry, I
aloha.
didn't, are you, I didn't mean to catch you off guard. I
Yeah,
was hoping,
I'm at the
uh,
Pacific Telecom Conference.
oh,
P,
yes, that's
P,
right.
P, PTC.
Yeah, do you want to share that for just do you want to share that conference?
Well, it's
For
an
example,
yeah, PTC Pacific Telecom Conference, um, uh, and it's an annual event in January. I mean, PTC has been around since '79. It's a world-class communication conference. So there are some sessions on, or it's wrapping up today, but there have been some sessions on digital equity and a lot of stuff around the Pacific. So um, yeah, and I haven't really had time to do my homework on policy and the legislation that's been introduced in the Hawaii State Legislature, but I think we definitely do want to pay attention to that.
excellent. Yeah, so policy monitoring is definitely integral. And then, Dan, I was also thinking about the framework, our digital literacy development, framework development, if there was any update on that. But we'll add that as a bullet for sure, because I know that that was something that everyone had requested so that we have some standardized framework to insert into whether it's grant applications or I think the DE capacity grant um, program. Each county is still asking for projects to be submitted or to start thinking about proposals.
Well, I think that the framework that's well in use is North Star. There turns out there are many frameworks, and so we need a little more discussion. But I would say well before the next meeting, I'll have something based on North Star and the different levels depending on what kind of program you're going to be working with.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Dan.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, that would be really helpful. And also looking at the policy monitoring and what that is going to be looking like during this legislative session would be really helpful. What is people's thoughts about workforce development and how are we able to tackle digital? Oh, fun.
Good turnout, Dan.
How are we looking to wait, that's kind of that framework, right? You guys were talking about, Chrissy, for workforce development, right?
Well, I think, workforce development really is something that we need to look at probably in a more broad and comprehensive way, because it's not only about getting folks ready for, in terms of digital literacy and the basics, but there really is, if you think about the learning about infrastructure, thinking about AI, I mean, that's huge. So that hasn't been part of the conversation. So, if anyone has really a desire or pulse, cybersecurity, that's another one. So I can think of different folks. They may not be here on, but Ed is here, and I do see think about some folks that that I've worked with that are currently running some different types of digital programs in all those different areas. And so I think if everyone's goal is to make sure that the folks in their community, or even really the folks in their organization, I'm speaking from me coming from a health center where over 50% of our staff are from the community, making sure that they're ready for what is already happening in terms of how AI in the healthcare industry and the opportunities it's been providing. But I don't know if anyone saw the news. So 500 billion, right, is being used for AI advancements. We know that there's incredible opportunity there for AI data centers, so that that's AI advancements, but also to making sure that those opportunities are available in an equitable way to everyone. So that's where when I think of workforce development, it's definitely more than just the framework of making sure that folks now know how to use their phones and how to use computers, because it's definitely advancing a lot faster, I think, than any time in history.
Yeah.
Having said that, um, I'm going to, Ed, I'm going to call you out because you don't have your audio on, but I will ask if you would be willing to head a committee for those who are interested in exactly what I'm talking about. So, outside of connectivity, I mean, we know that's where it all starts, but also to really what's out there in terms of what kinds of opportunities, whether it's cybersecurity, whether it's, explaining to folks the different options for how to access, and if you're interested in that part, because I think every community at this point, when we start to think about how is it that we're going to bring our people forward into this technological future, we also need to think about uh, how we have our own resources within our community that can, set it up, maintain it, sustain it in all times, whether it's just for workforce in general or disaster preparedness. I mean, there's folks on Maui here, but in Waianae, we're always thinking about how we can be prepared in times of disaster, whether it's natural or man-made. So, Ed, are
Yeah,
you volunteering?
be glad to. Yeah. Um, by the way, I've also attending PTC, and one of the interesting things is they've kind of partitioned um, uh, the area of broadband into three parts. And this is from a policy uh, uh, perspective. So one part is what they call rural um, rural funding. They call it RDOF, which is mostly for carriers putting fiber in the ground. Okay. So there are carriers that are getting large amounts of money from the government just for rural. Used to be under the old RUS, Rural Utilities Services, which is kind of adopted that same policy by NTIA. So that's one part is RDOF. The second part, the digital equity part, the middle mile, um, that's the part where the $49 billion that came out for BEAD was actually assigned to DE. And because it's middle mile, the comment from the government was that of the $49 billion spent, no new connections were added. So it did not support the community effort. Okay. And that's, Chrissy, you and I were in a meeting recently with government, and that's what they're talking about is taking the DE money and giving it to a carrier so that it really doesn't connect the end user, but it connects buildings. The third one, which is BEAD, the broadband equity, is supposed to be assigned for the connection to the end user, which then supports workforce development, blockchain, and AI. Okay, so the BEAD, which I think was vetoed by the governor, because it did not include wireless. And of course, Wi-Fi, 92% of all internet traffic is onboarded by Wi-Fi today. So I think that was one of the reasons that I think I wasn't part of that, but it was vetoed by the governor. Okay. So really, this community, if we're looking at connecting the community, other than connection to buildings, we should be looking at Wi-Fi or CBRS or Starlink or wireless technologies as a connection to the RDOF and connection to the digital equity, because that's the money that's kind of taken up by the carriers. So the blockchain part, of course, that's probably the most impactful to Hawaii, because in the past we've had two industries, which is tourism and Department of Defense. But blockchain allows us to build our own exchange, just like we did when we started Verifone way back in the 70s. So that's, of course, Verifone is one of the only tech companies created in Hawaii and went, multi-billion-dollar and worldwide. So I think when you look at it from that perspective, I'd be glad to chair a committee looking at broadband equity, okay, not DE, because that's already covered by the carriers, and not RDOF. And then looking at blockchain, okay, which is how we um, outsource and collaborate with people outside the state of Hawaii. Okay. But by the way, when I say blockchain, I'm talking about a process. Many people think blockchain is a crypto like Bitcoin. Okay. The crypto is a token for exchange. The exchange is one part of blockchain. Blockchain really is the validation of data from user to user. So when you go to a store like Long's that uses our Verifone machine, when you do a swipe, that actually validates the transaction and the data that's going through. And that's really what they're talking about when they're building this large AI engine. Okay. So
Mahalo,
anyway,
Ed.
I'll be glad
Excellent.
to hear that. And I wanted to give some context to it before I take on the role, before people join and says, well, that's not what I thought it was.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, and when I think, well, part of that, Shola, too, is, for folks who, if you could send us, Ed, some bullets, explain, what the subcommittee is, and then we bring that out to the members for those who are interested. And then we're able to work on that and then bring it back to the group as well to give updates during our subcommittee updates. And mahalo, Ed, for that. And I did send a little shout out to Brad for the data collection bullet point in terms of connectivity. Oh, hello, Chung. I see your hand raised.
Hi, Chrissy. Thanks. I just wanted to just clarify a couple of things uh, to elaborate on Ed's comments. Um, you know, I mean, I agree with you, Ed, on, I think we need to do more wireless deployments, but I just wanted to clarify that, these NTIA funds that are coming in doesn't give us priority on wireless deployment. So we are working within the parameters, and the first priority is to do those wired connectivity, right? So, but wherever we can, I think there will be some instances of considering wireless deployment, but the first priority and the parameter is that we got to consider wired infrastructure first. So I just wanted to just clarify that. And also just to comment on, the governor's veto on that bill. It was a grant bill that had no funding, and it was governor's office was responding to community concerns. So and we said we're okay with the veto, and that's kind of how that played out. So I just want to clarify that it was response to the community input on recommending a veto. So it wasn't his just decision. So I just wanted to provide that input. Thanks, Chrissy.
Yeah, mahalo, Chang. Thanks for that. For those folks maybe who are wondering what that was about, really, I think what it showed was, as a community, our voice can be heard. And if you find that there are things, and that's why I think policy monitoring, is really the priority here. At least that's what I've learned over the years, is we really need to keep an eye on what is happening. But we also, what I did learn is we also need the expertise of those who understand the language of the government and who can follow along and point us in the direction and give us really good definitions, the real definitions of things. And so what that veto did was, and thank you, Chung, for letting, giving some background on that. There wasn't any funding that was associated with that. But I think for me, because I will say, I was one of the folks that in our organization that requested that it be relooked at because community Wi-Fi wireless networks specifically were excluded from digital equity programs for funding that would have that may come in for digital equity programs. And so really it was the language. We want to make sure that all options, especially those that we know can benefit our community now, are always included in the conversation. So mahalo for bringing that up. So data collection, mapping, knowing where truly, and again, I'm going to just insert this myself because since we're talking about it, I always want to make sure the definitions of connection is really uh, uh, accurate. You know, potential connection is different from the ability of a resident to actually connect, whether it's usually it's affordability. So having someone who can, or a subcommittee that can really look at that and present in a way that I don't, that I think sometimes the data is skewed when it comes to connectivity and including the affordability piece, I think is important. So Brad, I see you're connected, but I'm not sure if you're able to give an update on your folks project and your data collection at this up to this point. And what if you? Oh,
Okay.
hey Brad.
Sorry. Yeah, I was
No worries.
monitoring another meeting.
Mhm.
Right now, we're waiting to see
How
what
are you?
happens with our
You okay?
what was that?
Sorry,
Uh,
we got to mute.
Okay. No. Right now we're waiting to see what happens with our possible funding through our consortium. So other than that, our website is still running, but we're not really monitoring it. I'm actually doing a lot of work with one of our Hawaiian-focused charter schools right now, as far as school improvement and teacher evaluation. So that's kind of been what's on my plate lately. As far as subcommittee moving forward, I gotta kind of look at my calendar and look at some stuff and so let me look and talk to a couple of people and I can get back to you on that.
all right. Mahalo, Brad. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Aloha, Sean.
Aloha. Sorry, I don't have my camera handy.
No
Um,
worries. I
uh,
remember what you look like.
Brad was referencing, I think, the competitive grants, the digital equity competitive grants from NTIA. Is that the consortium you're talking about, Brad? And do I understand we haven't heard any news about funding for that?
Yeah, I just got an email um from our sponsors. I guess there's one more round left, but the first two rounds we did not get awarded anything or nobody got awarded. I think right now they're just doing recommendations, but there's one more 150 million round to go, I think. So we're hoping we get in on that.
Okay, so thanks. I just wanted to make sure I was thinking of the same program. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Excellent. And
Okay.
then tackling community accessibility. I'm going to throw my hat in there for sure. Yeah. So to, so to give an update, I was able to I presented at the 2025 State of Reform Health Policy Conference on Tuesday, so right before the ledge opened, and my presentation was on digital access, digital inclusion, but access for sure was my real focus on as a essential health related social need. And so I think what's always is interesting to me is the fact that our focus isn't on individual access and the hidden barriers to why our communities, are marginalized, our communities that are socioeconomically, vulnerable, why they're not able to access the internet. And so I'm more than happy to continue on that mission to make sure that everyone is connected and we see connection as no longer a luxury for folks, but really a necessity that all of us here, we already know that it's essential. If anyone else can think of any other committees, I think in policy for sure, I'm going to throw Christina's Higa's hat in on the telehealth part. Not to run it, but definitely as our SME for telehealth. And I would be grateful if she could keep us abreast on what's happening in the legislature. If there's any, I kind of heard that there's something about telehealth, that a bill that someone is going to submit or create. I haven't uh, gotten any more information, but it's that those kinds of things. Great, Sean. Thanks for joining the policy subgroup. So, Christina, I know you're always, have your eye on everything telehealth and definitely policy. So we all look to you for your expertise. Knowing too that you have lots of you have lots on your plate these days.
Thank you, Chrissy. I completely support that, and I would be happy to join. And actually, Chrissy, you know just as much as I do, but I will partner up with you with the
Awesome.
telehealth policy.
Great.
Yeah, so if there are subgroups that are being created, just drop us the information relative to the time, the Zoom links, or even just putting it on top of the Broadband Hui calendar. We can have that accessible for everybody, and we can also have that as like direct links onto our Broadband Hui website. But thank you everybody for your volunteering or voluntolding. We really appreciate you guys and all of the efforts that you guys are doing. The last thing for discussion is we're just looking for additional community support to see if people are willing to run a social media platform for us. That was another discussion that we had last week that people were really jazzed about. And for us and our capacity at county level, we are going to be doing the maintenance for the Broadband Hui website. And that in itself is, I know, going to be a lot to work on. So if we have someone from the community that is willing to start a community platform for Broadband Hui on Instagram or even on Facebook, that will be really awesome and helpful for us. We can definitely meet up to kind of share what our thoughts and visions are with this other social media platform, and how we are able to kind of connect everyone and their work that they're doing into one site. So yeah, if you are feeling inclined and pushed to help in your influency ways, shoot us an email and we would love to talk stories with you guys.
And
Oh,
for
everyone.
for any teachers that are on, or you have a connection or know of, students who are looking, interns who are looking for, and even in high school, I'm going to say that because we had a senior at Waianae High School who did her internship for communications, and she blew me away. So needless to say, she went off to college and is doing an amazing job. So I would suggest, if anyone knows or knows of a student who's looking for opportunities to gain experience, right? Especially in such, I think, a really great forum. I mean, we look really great on their college application or work resume. So we're open to that too. Fresh ideas.
We love fresh ideas. Right. Thanks everyone for our discussion points. So next we have educational opportunities that are coming up for the state of Hawaii. Thank you, Dan, for the little tidbit on PTC. PTC. I did link that in the agenda, and hopefully we will remind ourselves next year that if anyone is interested in attending, we are able to attend. But I put that in the agenda. But tomorrow there is the Building the Telemental Health Safety Net. Christina, if you have any like little tidbits on that, that'll be really helpful. That was a really cool thing that was sent out in the mass email yesterday.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so this is a network in Virginia, and I like the model because what it's doing, sorry, I should just preface this with tomorrow there is a webinar. What time is it? Probably, Shola, you have the notice out there, and we can put the link in the chat, or I can do that later. But it's a telehealth related webinar. And what Virginia did is really interesting. They provide a free behavioral mental health telemental health service. And this is done, I think there's $1 million contribution from the state, but it's a win-win for residents as well who are basically pre-licensed. So they're looking to get clinical hours. And usually these residents would have to get clinical hours with someone that they pay to, proctor and to be their supervisors. So this network basically pays for that, has the residents supervised, and then they turn around and use these services to support people in their community to give them free mental health via telehealth. And it's very successful. I think it's a fantastic model for that we could look at because, working at the university, we're always seeing students looking for these opportunities to get clinical hours, and they have to pay for that. And, and on the flip side, we have a lot of mobile services out to the street medicine and all of that. And those service providers are always looking for the telehealth component, the other side of the link, right? You might be out there, but who's going to serve them? And the FQHCs are fantastic. They contribute a lot. But there's also, not enough of everybody for these kinds of services all the way around. So this we invited them to give a presentation tomorrow at 10 to 11. Thank you, Shola. And they will provide kind of an overview of the infrastructure and how this program have come about. Like I said, it just has so many components to it that we could benefit here. So it's just one of the first information sharing on this kind of network, and then we'll see if there's a critical mass of interested people, then we can continue the discussion. Thank you for letting me share that. Shola, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But yeah, in the chat and on the agenda, there are ways to access the registration. So if you're feeling inclined to learn about that, please shoot them a little note that you guys are coming. And then I think the last thing that we have right now is just some information about current grant opportunities. On our website, we do have a link to the, what was it called again? Shoot, sorry, let me pull it back up. Sources.
The distance learning.
Hano. Oh no, Hano, that one.
Okay.
That was the grants database that we have available on the Broadband Hui website. But we also have information about the grant that is available through USDA. And this one is also for distance learning and telemedicine grants. And I've dropped the link to the NOFO, was this? Yes, the NOFO. And so this is for people who are looking to provide financial assistance to enable and improve distance learning and telemedicine services in rural areas. And this grant application closes on March 6th. So if anyone is interested in looking at it or applying for it, I have dropped the NOFO for folks to access it. And if there's any collaborative work that needs to be done or information, we can definitely help to provide some data analysis or information that you need. Yeah.
Great,
With,
Shola.
yeah.
I was just going to say, subcommittee suggestion, I would like to have a grant writing assistance subcommittee. So if there are any grant writers out there, I had someone just ask me the other day, hey, do you folks not have a grant writer? I said, no, all of us here at Wanacomp, we all do our own. So, and that's definitely not my area of expertise. So if anyone wants to share them or not, in that realm, which is so important, with all the and because I don't know about all of you, but in my presentation I had to start to think about how I talk about digital inclusion, digital equity in terms of the new administration, and trying to make sure that as we move forward, that digital access and opportunity and innovation and efficiency are, the words moving forward that may catch folks' ears, so that we're all not left behind. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Thanks, Shola.
Yeah, that'll be a great thing to have, especially with all these grant opportunities coming out. Just a little workout sesh on how to write a good grant so that we can get money to our islands. It'll be really awesome. But that is what our agenda is looking like for today. If anyone has any suggestions, any thoughts, we are very free. Dan, saw your hand up first.
Yes, I did want to ask some questions because I admit I haven't done all my homework, but there's some legislation in there, and for example, apparently SB 1062 removes from the statute from the HRS a reference to the Hui. And if I understand the legislation, and I may not understand it, is it moving digital equity to out of DBET to DAGs, and moving what is it? The community television or see what we would call CATV over to Chun's organization. So there's something going on, and I don't understand it yet. Sylvia Luke spoke yesterday to PTC, but she didn't discuss the legislation, and she didn't take questions from the audience. So I think we do need to kind of understand what's going on and why, and how we can make the changes constructive. So yeah, there's some mysteries. I mean, maybe since Chung's organization is affected, maybe he could explain a little better what's going on. Thank you.
Mahalo, Dan. Chung, perfect timing.
Yeah, perfect. Because that's what I was gonna mention, that we were expecting to have kind of a quiet legislative session, but it's ending up being going to be very involved. So there are quite a bit of legislation introduced for not just HPDO, but broadband in general. So the net neutrality one that Sean had mentioned. There's also broadband, internet, workforce development affecting the libraries, telework. So a lot going on. So I don't want to take up too much of the Hui time in this general forum, but we can discuss more of that in that subgroup. But just to give you a sense of what's happening is that there's it comes up every session about duplication of efforts. Who's doing what? Why is one group doing things that other group is doing that's very similar? Can we consolidate some of those? So there's an effort to streamline the work of HBDO. And just as an example, and I'm just going to say it because this is in the bill, some of the work responsibilities that fall under DCCA director, those are, the bill removes it and moves it over to HBDO. And then it moves HBDO to DAGs under the CIO, the Chief Information Officer. So yeah, there are those things that are going on. And I have to say, so just generally speaking, is to streamline and put broadband to where kind of the future efforts are going to be, and then aligning the office to that. So, for example, we're going to have a lot of state-owned infrastructure coming online. as early as first quarter 2026 potentially, right? So are we ready to do that? Are we ready to handle that? So some of those things are being addressed at the bill. It does need to create some infrastructure through policy in the state government offices. So anyway, so all of that is being introduced. We can flush it all out during the session and then see what's the best scenario. Just take these introduced measures as suggestions, right? So we'll talk it through. The only thing I asked though from the Hui and those that want to submit testimonies, if you have any testimonies that are in opposition to what's going on, if you can kind of reach out to me and then we can talk it through, because I just want to make sure that we at least talk about it. I tell everyone I don't like surprises. So if you talk it through, it'll be good. So I'm definitely going to be involved in the sub committee on policy, because there's quite a bit of going on. We're tracking about 10 bills this session, and we'll probably be actively commenting on 5 of those, so about half. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Dan.
Well,
Yep.
we just, as you say, a lot to be explored, and we'll see who's our who are which of these are administration bills, which of them are individual legislators. I just wanted to sensitize people so that we need to go what's going on, and then of course we have the announcement from Hawaiian Tel that they're going to enable 100% of the locations in Hawaii for fiber by the end of 2026. So I guess they're betting on some BEAD money. So anyway, a lot going on, and yeah, there should be a good public discussion about what's up.
Hey, Dan, just for clarification, when I talk to Hawaiian Tel, they go to a demarc point, not to the exact facility. So that's more DE, not B.
Well, but if you're in the neighborhood, yeah, I understand the claim and enable, but if you're not very far away, um, you're done. I mean, the individual drops to the individual houses are, yes, they collectively they're a lot of money, but they're not hard. They're not hard to do. So anyway, I don't want to just be mouthing off here, but um, yeah, we'll try to understand the big picture and how we can be constructive.
Yep, I think that's definitely mahalo Chung for that information, because again, as I suspected, there is something churning at the policy level, and I find that that's where our efforts always need to start, because we also on the community side don't want to be surprised. I've been through that before, not in this particular forum, but in other forums, and so the um, response that I didn't know, or why didn't anyone tell me, that doesn't work. I found that each of us, for whatever mission we're on, we need to make sure that we go out and seek it and strive to understand it. So looking at the time, Shola, I'm going to turn it over to you to send everyone off. And
Okay.
what are the last things that we need to think about before our next meeting, and if we have speakers or subcommittees or what we can look forward to?
Yeah, so with the discussions that we had today, a lot about policies and how-tos, as someone who isn't that educated on policies and how-tos, I thought it would be a really great way for us to spend the next meeting. So Riley, he offered to kind of give the how-to on policy, how to navigate it, what happens. So our next meeting is going to be based around policies. Policy 001 is what we're doing. So if you guys have any expertise that you would like to collaborate with, especially to help Riley kind of elevate all of our education and knowledge of policymaking, why it's important, how it happens, that will be really helpful. That will be next week's meeting and what we will be talking about. But with the time, amazing. Thank you, everybody. We have made it
Wait, I
to
have a
9:58.
I have a
Yes.
quick chunk. Can you put together a list of the bills that are active? Or I know this is the like we get like 300 bills and next week it'll be 100 bills, but there's a lot of them get. But do you have a list of relative bills that relate to digital?
Yeah, so yes, so I do have a list and I'll send it to you. And
So what I can do is just send it to me and then I'll monitor the status. So some gets, because they're gonna get the committee assignments and all of that, and and what happens in the ledge is, this is the period where there's a tidal wave of bills introduced. You've got like 4,000 of them, and then only, at the end of the day, maybe 200 make it. So this is where the salmon are in the ocean and they start swimming upstream. So, Chung, if you can send that master list, then I can kind of filter it out and use one as an example next week.
yeah, I'll do that. I'll send you my working document.
Okay.
All the stuff that we're tracking that affects us. And broadband in general. And so, and then there are some things, workforce development, kind of whatever angle where it affects us. So like telework as an example, we're gonna track. So yeah, I'll send you my list. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Mahalo.
Awesome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I also kind of messed up on the numbers. So today was 239, not last week. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today for our 239th convening of the Broadband Hui. We will see everyone next week on the 5th of February, where we will be learning about policies and why it's important and how we navigate it. Mahalo, everyone. Stay safe and stay
Mahalo.
awesome.
Hui ho.
Ahui ho, everyone.
Oh, thank you.